This is flipping fascinating. A hormone and trending supplement made by your gut has the potential to slow, or maybe even stop, atherosclerosis, the buildup of fatty plaques in your arteries that can lead to heart attack, stroke, and death. The hormone's called TUDCA. It's a bile acid that appears to fight heart disease not by lowering cholesterol, but by altering the inflammatory pathways, the inflammatory foundation that drives plaque formation in arteries in the first place. Now maybe you're like me. I'm a supplement skeptic by nature, but this one might just live up to the hype. So in what's to come, we're going to literally unfold the data together. That joke will make sense later. Introduce key players you may never have heard of and drop some science bombs that will leave you at first confused and then excited. And by the end, I promise you're going to have a whole new respect for how your gut controls your heart. I'm enthusiastic about the science, but I want to be clear, it's not a miracle, but it is a compelling signal. Now, let's turn from doom and gloom to optimism and excitement. TUDCA dramatically reduced plaque formation. It can support gut health, liver function, mitochondrial function, and maybe even neuroprotection. The next obvious question is how to do it. Now, real quick before we begin, after watching this video, if you want extra details, extra nuances, all the references, check out the associated Stay Curious Metabolism newsletter linked below. Anyway, let's now start with the big picture. Here's an image from the study we're going to review, in which animals were fed a high-fat, high-sugar Western-style diet designed to induce heart disease, atherosclerosis. But one group received the supplement in question. The difference is clear. TUDCA dramatically reduced plaque formation. But the next obvious question is how to do it. Now, for organizational purposes, I'm breaking the rest of this video into 5 chapters. We're going to first talk about key players. Now, this section is going to be a little bit dry, but I'll try to be concise and it's going to be foundational, so just hang on. Chapter 2, how diet drives the inflammatory cascade. Chapter 3, enter TUDCA. Chapter 4, isn't that ironic? A commentary on statins. And Chapter 5, evidence-based dosing protocols. So let's begin. Chapter 1. Let me introduce 5 key players to you. I promise to keep this brief, if a bit dry, but it's going to help you make sense of the data to follow. So our first player, you've already heard of him, or I guess heard, it's not gendered, TUDCA. This is bile acid. It stands for tauroursodeoxycholic acid. It's kind of a mouthful, so we call it TUDCA or TUDCA for short. It's a bile acid made by the gut or taken as a supplement that circulates throughout the body. It's a hormone. It goes through circulation. It has a broad range of metabolic effects. It's already popular in metabolic health circles for a good reason. It can support gut health, liver function, mitochondrial function, and maybe even neuroprotection. We'll touch on that a little bit later in dosing protocols. But today, we're focusing on TUDCA's impact on cardiovascular health. Okay, that brings us to term 2. Endoplasmic reticulum stress, or ER stress. You can think of the endoplasmic reticulum as the cell's protein factory, and when it gets overloaded from oxidized damaged cholesterol or other toxins, it can start to misfold proteins and trigger an internal alarm system, ER stress, which is like panic mode for the cell. This leads to inflammation and cell damage, both of which play major roles in plaque formation in arteries. Now, 3. Inflammasomes. If ER stress is the cell's protein factory in full-blown panic mode, the inflammasomes are alarm systems inside immune cells that detect danger and stress and trigger the release of inflammatory cytokines, inflammatory molecules. So if ER stress is the cell in panic mode and the inflammasomes are the alarm system, what is the alarm button? In this case, it's a regulatory protein called ATF4. So to review, ER stress is the cell's protein machinery in panic mode. The alarm system that triggers that panic mode is the inflammasome, and AFT4 is the alarm button. Finally, what is the ultimate consequence of the ER stress inflammatory cascade? Foam cells. Foam cells are basically angry immune cell, a transformed version of a macrophage that has become metabolically overloaded, say by oxidized cholesterol particles, and becomes dysfunctional and inflammatory, playing a key role in early plaque formation and atherosclerosis. So now to review, as simply as I can, I know there's a lot of jargon, but thank you for bearing with me. In atherosclerosis, macrophages, these immune cells in the artery wall, take up too much oxidized damaged LDL particles. This can trigger ER stress, the panic mode, via activation of the panic button ATF4, sorry, dyslexia kicking in there, and the alarm system, the inflammasome, pushing these macrophages, these immune cells, into a dysfunctional state, driving inflammation and atherosclerosis. And what's more, this is important, this process also reduces the ability of these potentially protective immune cells, the macrophages, to remove cholesterol and fatty deposits, so-called cholesterol efflux. Thus, the helper becomes the harmer. Angry immune cells further propagate plaque growth, inflammation, tipping the balance towards atherosclerosis. Hopefully that makes sense. Feel free to watch it back. But now let's get on to chapter 2. Diet drives the inflammatory cascade. In their first set of experiments, the researchers began with mice. They fed them a high-fat, high-sugar diet to observe how this would impact the inflammatory cascade in arteries. They noted ER stress and inflammasome activation. What they found was clear. This high-fat, high-sugar diet triggered an inflammatory cascade, activating this alarm button, ATF4, then the inflammasome, and this ER stress response, core to the pathologies that drive atherosclerosis, as we reviewed. But they didn't stop in just animals. Now to the human data. To validate these findings in humans, the researchers examined carotid artery plaques drawn from 32 patients and analyzed the expression of the same molecular players we reviewed, including the alarm button, ATF4, and inflammasome markers. The results again were clear and consistent. Human patients with atherosclerosis had arteries and plaques that were enriched in the alarm button, the ATF4, in macrophages, as shown here by the arrowheads. And just for what it's worth, the CD68 is a widely used marker of macrophages and foam cells. So simply put, what we're seeing here in human arteries is that a diseased artery has more of these AFT4 alarm bells ringing, and that's triggering more inflammatory and immune cell invasion, the ultimate consequences of which are more inflammation, less cholesterol efflux, and progression of atherosclerosis. Now, let's turn from doom and gloom to optimism and excitement. Chapter 3, enter TUDCA. This is the fun part. What happened when you repeated this experiment but gave some of the animals TUDCA? Well, TUDCA didn't alter cholesterol levels. It led to a significant reduction in arterial fatty deposits, a clear sign of improved plaque status. You've seen this image already, but hopefully now you understand it at a deeper level. Consistently, TUDCA suppressed ER stress, panic mode, and inflammasome activation. And notably, it enhanced cholesterol efflux capacity of the macrophages, the immune cells, improving their ability to remove cholesterol from the arterial walls. So now, let's take a step back and summarize the core insights. A high-fat, high-sugar, essentially standard American-style diet, in this case for mice, triggers a combination of inflammasome signaling in this ER stress panic mode in artery walls. That environment transforms macrophages immune cells into angry foam cells, fueling even more inflammation and accelerating plaque growth. It's a vicious cycle, but TUDCA interrupts the cycle. TUDCA quiets the inflammatory storm. It suppresses both ER stress and inflammasome activation and improves the cell's ability to clear out cholesterol from plaques, ultimately leading to healthier arteries and reduced plaque progression. Pretty cool, right? Now, before we hit chapters 4 and 5, a quick comment on the study's limitations and caveats. The primary experiments, as I'm sure you've noted, were conducted in animals. As of today, there are no human randomized controlled trials showing that TUDCA can reverse or slow atherosclerosis. It's a big caveat and an important limitation, but there's also a caveat on the caveat. The absence of human data is largely a reflection of incentive structures in the current research and pharmaceutical landscape. I know this is a drum I beat often if you follow me, but it's worth repeating. To get a definitive answer, we do need large and very expensive clinical trials. And if there's no obvious business model, no one positioned to make a massive profit, those trials don't often happen. So what do we do in the meantime? Do we, as individuals or patients caring about our heart health, wait for gold standard proof, or do we make an educated decision based on the data we do have? Now, that's a personal choice, but I think you probably know where I stand. Now let's get on to chapter 4, which is mostly going to be a quick side note before we get into our final chapter on dosing. Now, if you're a longtime follower or subscriber, you might actually recognize TUDCA from an earlier video I did on statin medications. Irony to all of this, a version of that bile acid in question is readily available, even on Amazon. It's called TUDCA. Statins are first-line therapy for cardiovascular disease and atherosclerosis, but they do have some negative side effects, including slashing levels of the key metabolic hormone GLP-1. This is the same hormone targeted by those trendy weight loss drugs you would have heard of, Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. Now, this effect has been demonstrated in controlled human trials using the most commonly prescribed statin, Atorvastatin. And very interestingly, the researchers behind that human control trial found that the mechanism by which statins slash GLP-1 was through an impact on the gut microbiome, specifically by decreasing levels of UDCA. And if you're thinking UDCA and TUDCA sound very similar, that's because TUDCA is just UDCA with an attached taurine molecule. And when you consume TUDCA, it can actually raise your UDCA levels. And in statin-treated patients, this appears to improve insulin sensitivity, restore GLP-1 levels, and potentially reduce diabetes risk, improve blood sugar control. I don't think I need to say much more, but isn't that ironic? Anyway, let's get on to Chapter 5, dosing for TUDCA. There are several common dosing protocols in use, typically ranging from 250 milligrams to 1,500 milligrams per day. If you're having higher doses, usually split into 2 to 3 doses per day. The 500 to 1,500 milligram dose is typical and is mostly studied in liver conditions. And up to 2,000 milligrams per day has been used in trials for neurodegenerative diseases like ALS. With that said, a quick comment on the preclinical studies, the animal studies, they typically use much higher doses than are used in humans. This really means two things. One, we need to be cautious in extrapolating from the animal model literature, the data we just reviewed, but also the higher doses in animals suggest a pretty good safety profile. And on that, TUDCA is generally well tolerated, with some people having gastrointestinal symptoms, so like bloating and loose stools. These are the most common. But long-term safety has been demonstrated, primarily in liver disease populations. Now, if you're considering trying TUDCA, I would start at a low dose, 250 milligrams once daily with food, and titrate up slowly, increasing by 250 milligrams per week as tolerated to a maximum dose of up to, say, 1,750 milligrams per day, again, split into 2 to 3 doses. Continuous use generally is considered safe. However, continuous very high dose long-term use for years has not been rigorously studied. And many recreational users, now this is just clinical experience, choose to cycle at a 2-to-1 ratio. So like 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off. That's just commonly what people do. Now, in terms of sourcing TUDCA, I provide more details in the Stay Curious Metabolism newsletter, again linked below. At a high level, I'm getting mine from a reputable marketplace that's curated by an app that I'm helping to produce called 100 Health. It's a personalized metabolic health AI support tool, again, that I'm helping to build. More on that in the letter if you want, or in the caption details, but this isn't supposed to be an ad read, so let's wrap up. TUDCA is not a miracle pill. I'm enthusiastic about the science, but I want to be clear, it's not a miracle, but it is a compelling signal. TUDCA can change the terrain that makes plaques grow by dampening the ER stress panic response, quieting inflammasome activation, and improving cholesterol efflux capacity. We don't yet have human randomized control trials, and that is a real limitation. But it's also predictable in a world where dollars drive data. So the decision we each need to make, and this isn't specific to TUDCA, it's just broader, is in the messy middle. How do you weigh promising mechanistic and preclinical data against the absence of definitive clinical proof? Well, that is the art of medicine, or let's call it what it is, applied science. So basically, in my final words to you, I'm not telling you what to do, just what to TUDCA. You know you couldn't get out of this without a pun. Stay curious, and thanks.